Close your eyes softly. Let your body relax into the bed. Fix your pillow just right. Take a slow breath in and out. Feel the peace come over you. Welcome to Mindleapic, where calm stories help you sleep. Tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? What city or country? What time is it there right now? If you like this, hit like, subscribe to Mindleapic, and comment below. Now let's start our quiet tale of the medieval princess. Sweet dreams. Imagine a quiet castle in the misty hills of medieval Europe. The sun rises slowly over stone walls covered in ivy. Inside, a young princess stirs from her sleep on a soft bed with feather, pillows and heavy curtains to keep out the cold drafts. This is the world of a medieval princess, not the fairy tales of shining gowns and endless balls, but a real life filled with duties, learning, and quiet moments. Let us drift back in time to see what her days were truly like in a calm and gentle way. In the early morning light, the princess would wake to the soft sounds of birds outside her window. She might be 10 years old or so, with long hair braided for the night. Her room is simple yet grand, with tapestries on the walls showing scenes of forests and nights. A servant girl, called a lady-in-waiting, comes in quietly to help her dress. The clothes are layers upon layers, a linen shift close to the skin, then a woolen gown for warmth, and perhaps a silk overdress if it is a special day. Everything is tied with laces and pinned carefully. No rush, just slow, careful movements in the cool air of the chamber. Once dressed, the princess kneels for morning prayers. She has a small book of hours, with beautiful pictures of saints and flowers painted by hand. She reads the words softly to herself, or a priest might come to lead her in quiet chants. This time is peaceful, a moment to think about the day ahead. After prayers, she walks to a small chapel in the castle, where candles flicker softly on the altar. The stone floor is cold under her soft shoes, but she stands straight, listening to the gentle words of faith. Breakfast follows in a hall with long wooden tables. It is not a big meal, just bread with honey, perhaps some cheese or fruit from the castle gardens. She eats with her family if they are home, or with her ladies. The king and queen might talk about the kingdom's matters, but she listens quietly, learning without speaking much. The food is simple but fresh, baked that morning in the castle ovens. She sips herbal tea to warm her insides, watching the servants move like shadows around the room. Now the morning lessons begin. A tutor, often a wise monk or a learned lady, teaches her to read and write. In those times, many people could not read, but princesses like the daughters of King Edward I of England were taught well. They learned Anglo-Norman French, the language of the court, and some Latin for prayers. Books were rare treasures, made by hand on parchment. The princess practices her letters on a wax tablet, scratching words with a stylus. It is slow work, but rewarding. She might read stories of brave knights or holy saints, her voice soft and steady. Education was more than just books. She learns to embroider, stitching fine threads into cloth to make beautiful patterns of flowers or animals. Her fingers move gently over the fabric, pulling the needle in and out. This skill is important, for it shows grace and patience. She also practices music, playing a lute or harp. The strings make soft, soothing sounds that fill the room like a lullaby. Dancing lessons come next, with steps that are elegant and slow, preparing her for court events. As the sun climbs higher, she might take a walk in the castle gardens. The paths are lined with roses and herbs, their scents floating in the air. Birds sing from the trees, and a fountain trickles water into a stone basin. She walks with her ladies, talking quietly about the flowers or the weather. This is a time for fresh air and light exercise, away from the stone walls. Sometimes she picks herbs for healing or just to smell their calm fragrance. Lunch is served around noon in the Great Hall or a private chamber. It could be fish on Fridays or roasted meat with vegetables. Bread is always there, soft and warm. She eats slowly, using a knife to cut her food as forks were not common yet. Wine watered down is her drink, sipped from a silver cup. The meal is a break, a chance to rest and chat in low voices. In the afternoon, duties call. If she is older, like Joan of Acre, one of Edward's daughters, she might help with castle matters. Princesses were not just pretty faces. They had real power. Joan married for love, against her father's wishes at first, showing bravery in a time when marriages were for alliances. She travelled far from England to other lands on horseback over bumpy roads. Her life was full of movement, not staying in one place. Younger princesses might spend afternoons on more lessons or charity. They gave alms to the poor, handing out bread or coins at the castle gates. This act of kindness was part of their role, teaching humility in a soft way. Or they embroider more, creating gifts for family or church. The needlework is repetitive, calming, like a meditation. As evening falls, the castle lights up with torches and candles. Dinner is the big meal, with many courses, soups, meats, pies, and sweets like fruit tarts. Musicians play gentle tunes on flutes and strings. The princess sits at the high table watching the knights and ladies. She might dance if it is a feast day, moving in circles with graceful steps. But often, it is quiet talk and stories told by firelight. Bedtime comes with the dark. Back in her chamber, servants help her undress, brushing her hair 100 times for shine. She slips into bed, the curtains drawn around her. A story might be read aloud or she prays again. The castle quiets, only the wind outside whispering through the cracks. Sleep comes easy after a day of gentle routines, but life was not always so peaceful. Princesses like Eleanor, another of Edward's daughters, built castles and defended them. When her husband was captured, she rallied armies and raised money. Her travels took months across seas and lands, in carriages that jolted over dirt paths. Cushions of velvet helped, but it was tiring work. Mary of Woodstock chose a different path, becoming a nun but still living with luxury. She had her own household, travelled on pilgrimages, and enjoyed feasts with minstrels. Her life shows that princesses could choose faith over marriage sometimes. Margaret built a palace in Belgium, away from troubles, with gardens like those her father made in Wales. It was a place of beauty and peace, symbolising her strength. Elizabeth crossed from Holland to England, reuniting with family after years apart. Her journey was long, but she managed it with grace. These women read and wrote, commissioning books about their lives. They were educated, capable, and sometimes rebellious against the rules of their time. In fairy tales, princesses wait for rescue, but in reality, they rescued themselves and others. Their days were a mix of learning, duty, and quiet joys. As we think on this, let the images fade like twilight, bringing calm to your mind. Now picture the castle again, silent under the stars. The princess sleeps, dreaming of tomorrow's gentle adventures. This is just the start of her story, a real tale from history's soft pages. Let us continue slowly. In those medieval times, the role of a princess was shaped by her family and the kingdom's needs. Born into royalty, she was seen as a bridge between lands, often promised in marriage from a young age. But before that, her childhood was protected, in nurseries with nurses and toys of wood and cloth. As she grew, expectations grew too. She learned manners, how to curtsy low and speak politely. Her voice was trained to be soft, like a breeze. Court life taught her to observe, to see alliances forming in whispers. Travels were common. The court moved from castle to castle, packing everything in wagons. Princesses rode palfrey horses, gentle and sure-footed. Stops at monasteries brought rest, with simple meals and prayers. Feasts were highlights, with tables groaning under food. Swans roasted whole, pies filled with birds, wines from far vineyards. But she ate modestly as grace demanded. Music filled the air, harps plucking melodies that soothed the soul. She might sing too, her voice clear and light. Embroidery was a daily task, hours spent on one piece. It built patience, a virtue for royal life. Reading was a treasure. Books of romances told of love and quests, inspiring dreams. Histories taught of past kings, lessons for the future. Writing was practiced carefully. Wax tablets allowed mistakes to be smoothed away, like worries. Prayers framed the day, morning and night. A rhythm like breathing. Charity was key, giving to beggars or churches, showing the crown's kindness. Duties varied by age. Young ones played, older ones managed households, overseeing servants with a calm hand. Marriages brought change. Joan secretly wed her love, facing anger, but winning forgiveness. Her story shows heart could triumph over politics sometimes. Eleanor's defense of her castle was brave, commanding men in armor while her children were safe. These acts were not rare. Princesses held power quietly. As night deepens in our tale, the princess's world feels distant yet close, a whisper from the past. Let your thoughts drift with it, easing into rest. The medieval era spanned centuries, from dark ages to Renaissance blooms. Princesses adapted, their lives evolving but always grounded in tradition. In England, under kings like Edward, they were part of a vast empire from Wales to Scotland. Their mothers, like Eleanor of Castile, set examples, travelling with armies, bearing children on the road. Sisters bonded, sharing secrets in shared chambers. Friends were ladies in waiting, chosen for loyalty, sharing laughs and quiet moments. Health was watched, with herbal remedies for colds or aches. Clothes were mended, jewels polished, everything kept neat. Seasons changed routines. Winter by fires, summer in gardens. Festivals brought joy, with maypoles and dances. But wars loomed. Fathers away on campaigns. Mothers ruling instead. Princesses learned resilience, faces calm amid storms. This real life was rich, not boring, but told softly. It lulls like a river's flow. Imagine walking those halls, footsteps echoing softly. Feel the fabric of gowns smooth and heavy. Hear the lute's notes fading into silence. Smell the roses in bloom, sweet and faint. Taste the honey on bread, warm and simple. See the candle flames dancing gently. All this in a princess's day, real and true. As part one ends, let peace settle over you. Like a blanket, picture a medieval castle at dawn, its towers kissed by soft light. The air is cool, carrying the scent of dew on grass. Inside, our princess wakes again, her breath slow and steady, ready for another day in her quiet, noble world. This is not a tale of grand battles or dazzling crowns, but of real moments, woven with care and calm, to carry you gently into history's embrace. The morning begins with the same gentle routine. Her lady-in-waiting enters, footsteps soft on the stone floor. The princess rises, her nightgown of fine linen brushing her ankles. She washes her face in a basin of rosewater, the scent soothing her senses. Her hair is brushed, long strokes that feel like a rhythm, then braided neatly. Today's gown is blue, embroidered with tiny silver threads that catch the light. It takes time to dress, each layer tied with care. But there is no hurry. The castle hums with quiet life. Prayers come next, as always. She kneels by her bed, her book of hours open. The pages are worn from daily use, their edges soft. She whispers the words, her voice a murmur, like a stream over pebbles. The prayers ask for wisdom and peace, for her family and the kingdom. Sometimes a chaplain joins her, his voice low and steady, guiding her thoughts. The candlelight flickers, casting shadows that dance slowly on the walls. Breakfast is simple yet warm. A wooden table holds fresh bread, still warm from the oven. With butter and a drizzle of honey, there might be apples, red and crisp, picked from the orchard. She eats with her younger siblings today, their chatter soft and cheerful. The hall is large, but the fire in the hearth makes it cozy. Servants move silently, bringing more bread or refilling her cup with watered wine. She listens to her brother talk of his new horse, smiling as she sips her drink. Lessons fill the morning. Her tutor, a kind woman with grey hair, teaches her history today. They read about her ancestors, kings and queens who ruled with strength and mercy. The princess traces their names on her wax tablet, her stylus moving carefully. She learns of Eleanor of Provence, her great-grandmother, who travelled across seas to marry a king. These stories are not just tales. They teach her what it means to be royal, Her voice repeats the names softly, committing them to memory. Music lessons follow. She sits with a small harp, its wood polished smooth. Her fingers pluck the strings, creating notes that float like petals on water. The tune is a lullaby, one her mother sang to her. She practices until the melody is perfect, each note clear and gentle. Her tutor nods, pleased, and the room feels lighter. Music is her escape, a way to dream within the castle's walls. After music, she turns to needlework. Her embroidery frame holds a half-finished cloth, a design of doves and roses. She threads a needle with green silk, stitching leaves with care. Each stitch is small, precise, a tiny act of creation. Her ladies sit nearby, working on their own pieces, their needles flashing in the sunlight. They talk quietly of the harvest festival coming soon, their voices blending with the soft rustle of fabric. Midday brings a walk in the courtyard. The castle walls are high, but the courtyard is alive with colour. Herbs like lavender and mint grow in neat rows, their scents rising as she brushes past. A cat, grey and sleek, curls around her ankles, and she bends to stroke its fur. The air is warm now, the sun high. She walks slowly, her ladies trailing behind, their laughter soft. This is a moment of freedom, a chance to breathe. Lunch is served in a smaller chamber today, just for the family. There is vegetable soup, thick with peas and carrots, and roasted pheasant with herbs. Bread is dipped in the broth, soaking up its warmth. She eats with a silver spoon, her movements graceful as she was taught. Her father, the king, speaks of a new alliance with a far kingdom. She listens, learning how words can bind lands as much as armies. The afternoon is for practical duties. At 14, she is old enough to help manage the castle's stores. She walks to the pantry with her governess, checking barrels of grain and jars of preserved fruit. Her hands touch the rough wood of the barrels, her voice calm as she counts aloud. This work is not glamorous, but it matters. A princess must know how to keep a household strong, ready for winter or siege. Charity follows. She stands at the castle gate, handing out bread to villagers. Their faces are weathered, their thanks quiet but heartfelt. She smiles, her hands gentle as she passes loaves to children. This act, simple and kind, is part of her role, showing the kingdom's care. The wind carries the smell of fresh bread, mixing with the earthiness of the village beyond. As evening nears, the castle prepares for a small feast. A noble visitor has arrived, and the hall is set with care. The tables are covered with white cloth, cups gleam with polish. The princess wears a velvet gown now, heavy but warm. She sits beside her mother, watching the guest, a lord from a northern land. He speaks of his travels, and she listens, her face calm but curious. The food is rich, venison with spiced sauce, tarts with berries, and wine that glows red in the candlelight. Musicians play, their flutes and drums soft but lively. She joins a dance, her steps slow and measured, her hands light in her partner's. The dance is a pavan, elegant and unhurried, like a river flowing. She moves with grace, her gown swaying, her mind half in the music, half on the Lord's words about his lands. After the feast, she returns to her chamber. The fire is low, its embers glowing. Her ladies help her undress, folding the heavy gown with care. They brush her hair again, the strokes slow and soothing. She sits by the window, looking at the stars through the narrow glass. A story is read aloud, a tale of a saint who helped the poor. Her eyelids grow heavy, the words blending with the night's quiet. In bed, the curtains are drawn, shutting out the cold. She prays once more, her voice a whisper, thanking God for the day. The castle is silent now, save for the distant call of a night bird. Sleep comes like a gentle tide pulling her under. But let us pause to think of real princesses, like Isabella of France, who became a queen and a leader. She crossed seas to marry, then stood strong when her husband faced war. Her life was not just feasts and gowns. She learned to negotiate, to speak for her people. Her courage was quiet but fierce, like a flame in the dark. Or consider Margaret of Scotland, who married young and brought peace to two lands. Her days were filled with letters, written in her own hand, to keep alliances strong. She travelled rough roads, her carriage swaying, Yet her face stayed calm, a princess's mask. These women were not idle. They studied, planned, and acted. Their education was broad: languages, history, even law. They read books of strategy, not just romances. Their needlework was art. Their music a language of the heart. Life held challenges. Sickness was common with no modern medicine. A fever could take a sibling, and the princess would pray harder. Her faith a steady anchor. Travel was hard, with muddy roads and cold nights intense. Yet they endured, their spirits unbroken. Winters were long, spent by fires telling stories. Summers were bright, with hunts and garden walks. Each season shaped their days, a cycle of calm and purpose. Their faith was deep, woven into every hour. Churches and chapels were their refuge, where they knelt on stone, their breath visible in the cold. Friendships were precious. Ladies in waiting were like sisters, sharing secrets and sewing. They laughed over small things, like a dropped stitch or a shy night's blush. Family was central. Siblings played games, parents taught lessons. The king's word was law, but a mother's advice was wisdom. Clothing was a statement. Gowns showed wealth, jewels power. Yet comfort mattered too. Soft shoes, warm cloaks. Food was a ritual. Meals brought people together, from servants to lords. The princess learned to host, to make guests feel welcome. Festivals broke the routine. Christmas brought feasts. May Day brought dances under the sky. She joined in, her laughter soft but real. War was a shadow. When fathers or brothers rode off, she prayed for their return. Sometimes she helped plan, her voice quiet but heard. This life was not boring. It was layered, like the gowns she wore, each part adding to the whole. History holds these truths, told softly to ease you into rest. Imagine her now, asleep in her bed, the castle quiet around her. The stars shine through the window, a reminder of eternity. Feel the weight of the blankets heavy and warm. Hear the faint crackle of the fire dying down. Smell the faint lavender from her pillow, calming the mind. See the shadows soft and still. This is the world of a medieval princess, real and human. Let it carry you like a dream, into peace. The medieval castle stands still under a pale morning sky. Its stones cool and grey in the early light. A soft breeze carries the scent of wet earth and blooming herbs. Inside, the princess stirs, her breath slow, her dreams fading like mist. She is ready for another day, one filled with gentle routines and quiet strength. This is no fairy tale of endless glamour, but a real life, woven with care to lull you into the calm of history. As dawn breaks, her chamber is quiet. The wooden shutters let in slivers of light, painting the floor with soft lines. Her lady-in-waiting enters, her steps light, carrying a tray with a small candle. The princess sits up, her linen shift soft against her skin. She washes her hands and face in a bowl of water scented with chamomile, the fragrance soothing. Her hair is brushed, each stroke steady and slow, then pinned into a simple braid. Today's gown is green, like the forest, with delicate gold stitching. Dressing is a ritual, unhurried, each lace tied with care. Prayers begin the day. She kneels on a cushioned stool, her book of hours open on a small table. The pages glow with painted flowers and saints, their colors soft in the candlelight. Her voice is a whisper, reciting words of hope and grace. Sometimes she prays alone, her thoughts drifting like clouds. Other times, a priest joins her, his chants low and rhythmic, blending with the morning stillness. The air feels sacred, wrapping her in peace. Breakfast waits in the hall, where a fire crackles softly. The table holds warm bread, a slab of cheese, and pears from the castle orchard. She eats with her mother today, the queen's voice gentle as they talk of small things. The weather. A new tapestry. Servants move quietly, refilling her cup with herbal tea, its warmth spreading through her. The hall is large, but the meal feels close, like a moment stolen from the day's duties. Morning lessons begin in a sunny room. Her tutor, a scholar with kind eyes, teaches her poetry today. She reads verses in French, the words flowing like a song. The parchment is heavy, its ink dark and neat. She practices writing, her quill scratching softly on a wax tablet. The poems speak of love and nature, and she repeats them, her voice clear but soft. Learning is slow, deliberate, a way to shape her mind. Next comes dance practice. A minstrel plays a lute, its notes gentle and lilting. She learns the steps of a slow dance, her feet gliding over the floor. Her gown sways as she moves, her hands light in the air. The rhythm is calming, like a heartbeat. Her ladies join her, their laughter quiet but warm. Dancing is not just skill, it is joy, a way to feel free within the castle's walls. After dancing, she sits with her embroidery. Her needle pulls blue thread through cloth, forming waves like a river. The work is patient, each stitch a small victory. Her ladies sit nearby, their needles moving in time. Their voices low as they share stories of the village fair. The room is bright, sunlight streaming through narrow windows, warming the stone. Midday calls her outside. The castle gardens are alive with colour. Roses red and white, lavender swaying in the breeze. She walks slowly, her shoes soft on the gravel paths. A butterfly flutters past, and she pauses to watch it, her mind at ease. Her ladies follow, their chatter soft like a distant stream. She kneels to touch a mint leaf, its scent sharp and clean. This is her sanctuary, a place to breathe. Lunch is served in a private chamber, the table set with care. There is barley soup, warm and hearty, with bread and roasted quail. She cuts her food with a small knife, her movements precise. Her younger sister joins her, giggling over a story of a clumsy knight. The meal is simple but rich, the flavors grounding her. She sips watered wine, its taste faint but sweet, listening to the soft clink of cups. The afternoon brings duties. She is learning to oversee the castle's linens today, checking sheets and tapestries for wear. Her hands touch the soft wool, her eyes sharp for flaws. She speaks to the head laundress, her voice calm but firm, asking about supplies. This work is quiet but vital, teaching her to care for those who serve the castle. She writes notes on a slate, her letters neat, her mind focused. Charity is next. She walks to the castle gates, a basket of bread and coins in her hands. Villagers wait, their faces tired but hopeful. She hands out gifts, her smile gentle, her words kind. A child takes a loaf, his eyes wide, and she pats his head softly. This act is small but meaningful, tying her to the people beyond the walls. The air smells of dust and bread, grounding her in the moment. As evening falls, the castle prepares for a quiet supper. The hall is lit with candles, their flames steady. The princess wears a softer gown now, its folds light. The meal is fish, baked with herbs, and a pudding of almonds and cream. She sits with her family, listening to her father speak of a distant cousin's visit. The talk is low, the mood calm. A harpist plays, the notes weaving through the air like a dream. After supper, she joins a game of chess with her brother. The board is carved wood, the pieces smooth under her fingers. They play slowly, each move thought out, their laughter soft when a pawn falls. The game is a lesson in strategy, but also a moment of closeness. The fire pops in the hearth, its warmth wrapping the room. Night settles in, and she returns to her chamber. Her ladies undo her gown, folding it with care. They brush her hair, the strokes slow and rhythmic, like waves on a shore. She sits by the fire, a book of saints' lives open in her lap. Her lady reads aloud, the story of a holy woman who healed the sick. The words are soft, blending with the crackle of the fire. In bed, the curtains are drawn, the room dark save for a single candle. She prays, her voice a whisper, thanking God for strength and peace. The castle is silent, the world outside still. Sleep comes gently, like a friend, carrying her into dreams of gardens and music. But let us think of real princesses, like Philippa of Hainaut, who married a king and brought wisdom to his court. She travelled from her homeland, her journey long and cold, yet her spirit stayed warm. She learned to speak for peace, her voice steady in councils. Her life was not just beauty, it was power, used quietly but well. Or Joan of Navarre, who ruled as regent when her husband was away. She wrote letters, sealed with wax to keep her lands safe. Her days were filled with decisions, yet she found time to pray and sew, balancing duty with calm. These women were educated, reading books of law and faith. They spoke languages, their words crossing borders. Their embroidery was not just art, it was a gift given to churches or allies. Life had shadows. Illness could strike, with only herbs and prayers to fight it. A cough could linger, a fever could burn, yet they faced it with grace, their faith a steady light. Travel was hard, with roads of mud and nights in draughty inns. But they rode on, their cloaks wrapped tight, their eyes on the horizon. Winters were for stories, told by fires that warmed the hands. Summers were for hunts, riding gentle horses through green fields. Faith was their anchor. They knelt in chapels, their prayers rising like smoke. They gave to the poor, their hands open, their hearts steady. Friends were their comfort. Ladies in waiting shared their days, sewing and laughing, their voices a soft chorus. Family was their strength. Parents taught, siblings played. A mother's hug was warmth. A father's nod was pride. Clothes were their armor. Gowns of silk showed rank, but soft shifts brought comfort. Jewels sparkled, but a warm cloak was treasure. Food was their joy. Feasts brought laughter. Simple meals brought calm. They learned to savor each bite, each sip. Festivals were their light. Easter brought flowers, Christmas brought songs. They danced, their steps a celebration. War was their test. When men rode off, they stayed, keeping castles strong. Their voices were soft, but their will was iron. This life was full, not dull. It was real, layered with care and courage. History holds these women, their stories told softly to ease you into rest. Imagine her now, asleep, her breath even. The castle sleeps too, its walls holding centuries of secrets. Feel the softness of her bed, the weight of wool blankets. Hear the faint wind whispering outside. Smell the lavender in her pillow, faint and sweet. See the stars through her window, steady and far. This is the princess's world, woven from truth. Let it carry you like a lullaby into peace. Envision the medieval castle in the hush of early morning, its battlements outlined in soft grey light. The world outside is still, with only the faint rustle of leaves in the wind. Within, the princess awakens gently, her eyes opening to the familiar shadows of her chamber. This is her life, not one of dramatic quests or enchanted spells, but a tapestry of serene duties and quiet graces, shared now to wrap you in the soothing veil of the past. The day starts with care. Her lady-in-waiting draws back the bed curtains, letting in the cool air. The princess rises, her feet touching the woven rush mat on the floor. She washes in a basin of water warmed by the fire, scented with dried petals. Her skin feels refreshed, her mind clearing like fog lifting from a lake. Brushing her hair takes time, each pass smooth and deliberate. Then it's woven into loose coils. Her gown today is crimson, soft wool with pearl buttons, layered for warmth. Dressing is a quiet dance, no words needed. Prayers anchor her morning. She kneels at her small altar, a carved wooden cross before her. Her book of hours lies open, its illuminations glowing faintly. She reads the Psalms, her voice a soft echo in the room. The words speak of mercy and light, filling her with calm. If a confessor visits, his guidance is gentle, his prayers joining hers like threads in a weave. The candle burns steadily, its flame a small beacon in the dim. Breakfast is laid in a cozy nook of the hall. Fresh oat porridge steams in a bowl, topped with nuts and a swirl of cream. There are berries, plump and tart, gathered from the hedges. She eats alone today, her thoughts her company, or with a favoured lady who shares silent smiles. The bread is crusty, dipped in honey for sweetness. Servants hover like ghosts, ensuring her cup of ale is full, its foam light. The fire warms her toes, the meal a gentle start. Lessons commence in a room with tall windows. Her tutor teaches arithmetic today, using beads on a string to count. She learns to tally the castle's goods, grain sacks, wool bales, her fingers moving the beads slowly. Numbers are tools, like her needle or harp, and she practices on parchment, her ink strokes neat. The lesson is patient, building her knowledge brick by brick, her voice repeating sums in a murmur. Singing practice follows. She stands by a window, her voice rising soft and clear, learning hymns and ballads. The notes are pure, like water from a spring, taught by a musician with a gentle touch. She breathes deeply, her chest rising and falling, the song a prayer in melody. Her ladies hum along, their harmonies blending, creating a cocoon of sound. Embroidery takes the late morning. Her frame holds a scene of a garden, threads of green and pink forming leaves and blooms. She stitches carefully, the needle-piercing fabric with a soft sigh. This work is meditative, her mind wandering to far places while her hands stay busy. Stories are shared in whispers, tales of a cousin's wedding or a knight's return, keeping the room alive but calm. Noon brings a stroll in the orchard. Apple trees stand tall, their branches heavy with fruit. She walks slowly, her hand trailing over rough bark, plucking a ripe apple to bite. Its juice is sweet, crisp. Birds flit above, their songs light. Her ladies pick flowers, tucking them into her hair, their laughter faint like distant bells. The sun warms her face, the earth solid under her feet. Lunch is simple in the solar, a sunny upper room. There is cheese pie, flaky and warm with greens from the garden. She uses her fingers neatly, as taught, wiping them on a napkin. Her aunt joins her, speaking of embroidery patterns from France. The talk is easy, the food nourishing, ending with a sip of spiced wine that warms her throat. Afternoon duties involve the still room. She helps make remedies, crushing herbs for salves, stirring pots of infusion, lavender for headaches, mint for stomachs, her hands stained with green. The scents are strong but soothing, the work useful. She labels jars with her careful script, her voice soft as she asks questions of the herbalist. Charity calls her to the almonry. She distributes cloaks to the needy, woolen and warm for coming winter. Their gratitude is quiet, their bows deep. She speaks kindly, asking after their families. Her presence a bridge between castle and village. The act is humble, grounding her in service. Evening gathers the household for vespers. In the chapel, candles glow on the altar, incense curling in the air. She kneels, her voice joining the chant, the Latin words familiar and rhythmic. The stone is cold, but her spirit warms, the prayer a blanket for her soul. Supper is hearty in the great hall, roasted boar with applesauce, bread pudding sweet with raisins. She sits at the dais, her posture straight, listening to minstrels sing of old heroes. The music is soft, the strings plucked gently. She might clap quietly, her smile small but genuine. After, she plays a game of tables, dice clicking on wood. With her siblings, the game is light-hearted. Bets of sweets or favors. Laughter bubbles soft, the fires glow on their faces. Nightfall brings her to her chamber. Undressing is slow, her gown slipped off like a skin. Hairbrushing is a ritual, 100 strokes for shine. A tale is told by candlelight of a wise queen who saved her land. The words fade as her eyes close. In bed, prayers are whispered, the day reviewed in thanks. Sleep descends, soft and deep. The castle a guardian around her. Reflect on real princesses like Anne of Bohemia, who brought culture to her husband's court. She travelled from afar, her journey weary, but her arrival brought books and art. Her life was quiet influence, her kindness remembered, or Eleanor of Aquitaine, though earlier. Her spirit echoes, ruling lands, joining crusades, her will strong yet graceful. She wrote poetry, her words enduring. These women balanced power with poise. They studied maps, learned of trade, their minds sharp. Embroidery hid letters sometimes, secrets stitched in code. Challenges were many, Childbirth was risk with prayers for safety. Loss was common, grief held privately, strength shown publicly. Travel meant endurance, seas rough, lands strange, yet they adapted, their grace unwavering. Seasons marked time, spring with new life, autumn with harvests. Each brought tasks, joys. Faith was constant, chapels their retreat. They commissioned altars, their gifts lasting. Friends were allies, sharing burdens. Family was core, bonds unbreakable. Clothes were symbols, fine silks for feasts, sturdy wool for days. Food was varied, spices from afar, simple stews at home. Festivals lifted spirits, tournaments with cheers, holy days with processions. War-tested resolve. They managed homes while men fought, their letters, news and comfort. This life was textured, real. History whispers it, calming like a sigh. Picture her sleeping, breath even. The castle dreams with her, timeless. Feel the pillow's softness, blanket's warmth. Hear silence broken by owl's call. Smell faint smoke from the fire. See moonlight silver on the floor. This world invites peace, a gentle close to the day. Visualize. The medieval castle bathed in the soft glow of sunrise, its flags stirring faintly in the breeze. The air is crisp, filled with the distant call of birds awakening. Deep within, the princess opens her eyes, her rest unbroken, her world unfolding once more in gentle rhythms. This is the essence of her existence, far from mythical adventures or lavish spectacles, but a life of poised simplicity, narrated here to guide you softly through the annals of time. Morning unfolds with familiar tenderness. Her chambermaid enters quietly, drawing the heavy drapes to reveal the paling sky. The princess stands, her bare feet on the cool floor stretching lightly. She splashes her face with water from a ewer, infused with elderflower for its mild scent. Her long hair is combed, strands falling like silk, then gathered into a net of fine threads. The day's attire is a gown of soft grey, edged with fur for comfort, fastened slowly with hooks and eyes. Each step is deliberate, the room filled with hushed serenity. Prayers are her first devotion. At her prie-dieu, a padded kneeling bench, she opens her illuminated manuscript. The vellum pages whisper as they turn, revealing verses adorned with gold leaf. Her lips move silently at first, then softly voicing supplications for harmony and health. A visiting friar might offer a blessing, his tone mellow, resonating like a distant bell. The incense from a small censer curls lazily, infusing the air with a calming spice. Breakfast is taken in the buttery, a small room off the kitchen. Warm milk with spices, bread rolls fresh and yeasty, accompanied by preserved cherries. She dines with her governess, their conversation light, perhaps about a dream or the changing leaves. The wooden spoon stirs slowly, the meal a moment of nourishment for body and spirit. Servants pass unseen, their service seamless, allowing her thoughts to wander freely. The morning's education shifts to languages. Her tutor, fluent in several tongues, guides her through Italian phrases, reading from a borrowed tome. She repeats after him, her accent shaping gently, practicing dialogues of courtly exchange. On her slate, she scribes words, erasing and rewriting with a damp cloth. This knowledge opens worlds like keys to distant realms. Her voice a soft melody in the quiet chamber. Harp lessons come next. Seated with the instrument cradled, her fingers dance lightly over strings, producing chords that echo softly. She learns a new piece, a lament from the south, its notes melancholic yet soothing. The tutor corrects her posture kindly, and soon the music flows, wrapping the room in tranquility. Her ladies listen, their eyes half closed, the harmony a shared balm. Late morning is for sewing. Her tambour frame displays a half-woven crest, threads of red and gold intertwining. She pulls the needle through taut fabric, each puncture precise, building the image stitch by stitch. Whispers of news from the stables or kitchens float among her companions, their work a collective hum. The sunlight filters through leaded glass, casting rainbow patterns on their hands. At midday, she ventures to the mews, where falcons perch hooded and still. She learns falconry basics, gloving her hand to hold a bird, feeling its weight and warmth. The falconer speaks low, explaining calls and flights. She watches a bird soar briefly, its wings cutting the air gracefully. This is exercise for mind and body, the open sky a rare expanse in her structured days. Lunch awaits in the Queen's apartments, a light repast of cold meats, cheeses and flatbreads arranged on a cloth. She shares with her mother, discussing a forthcoming pilgrimage. The flavors are subtle, herbs from the garden enhancing each bite. She drinks from a goblet of clear water. The meal a pause in the day's flow, their bond strengthened in quiet words. Afternoon tasks include inventory of the wardrobe. She inspects gowns and cloaks, noting repairs needed. Her touch light on silks and velvets. With the seamstress, she selects fabrics for new pieces. Her choices thoughtful. This oversight teaches economy and elegance. Her notations in a ledger careful and clear. Charity extends to the infirmary today. She visits the castle's sick, bringing baskets of fruit and linens. Her presence comforts, her words encouraging as she listens to their ailments. A healer's apprentice explains treatments, and she nods, absorbing knowledge. This service is heartfelt, connecting her to humanity's frailties. As dusk approaches, compline prayers are said in the family oratory. Candles illuminate icons, the air heavy with devotion. She sings vespers, her voice blending with others in harmonious chant. The ritual is closing the day, preparing the soul for rest. Supper is modest, in a chamber warmed by tapestries. Stewed vegetables with rabbit, spiced gently, and custards for sweetness. She dines with kin, tales of the day's hunts or visitors exchanged softly. A fiddler plays airs from the region, the bow drawing notes that linger. Evening leisure is reading. By firelight, she peruses a romance manuscript. Knights and ladies in chivalric pursuits. Her lady reads passages aloud, the story unfolding like a dream. The pages turn slowly, imagination stirred without haste. Bedtime rituals commence, undressed to her chemise, hair loosed and brushed. She climbs into the feather bed. Prayers are murmured, reflections on graces received. The canopy encloses her, the room dimming as the candle gutters. Sleep envelops her. Dreams perhaps of meadows or seas. The castle a silent sentinel. Ponder true princesses, like Mary of Hungary, who navigated politics with shrewd calm. She traveled to claim thrones, her resolve quiet but unyielding. Her court was learned, books her companions, or Blanche of Castile, regent for her son, guiding France through storms. She corresponded widely, her seal on decrees, balancing motherhood with rule. These figures embodied resilience. They mastered rhetoric, debated with scholars, their intellects honed like blades. Trials abounded, betrayals in court, plagues sweeping lands. Yet they persevered, faith and wit their shields. Journeys were arduous, across mountains or rivers, carriages creaking. Comforts were few, but spirit endured. Cycles of nature influenced, blooms in spring inspiring, snows in winter introspective. Devotion was daily, relics venerated, pilgrimages planned. Companions provided solace, confidences shared in alcoves. Kinship was foundation, alliances forged through blood. Attire reflected status, embroidered hems, scented gloves. Cuisine varied, feasts opulent, fasts austere. Celebrations renewed, saints' days with processions, harvests with dances. Conflicts demanded cunning, sieges managed, truces brokered. This existence was profound, authentic. Echoes of it soothe, like whispers from yesteryear. Envision her repose, chest rising evenly. The fortress slumbers, history etched in stone. Sense the mattresses yield, covers embrace. Detect the hearth's embers, aromatic wood. Perceive moonlight's gleam, ethereal. This realm beckons tranquility, a serene finale. See the medieval castle emerging from the morning fog. Its spires reaching into a sky painted with faint pinks. The world stirs slowly, leaves whispering in the gentle wind. Inside, the princess awakens, her slumber peaceful, her day ready to bloom in quiet patterns. This is her reality, away from legends of magic and grandeur, but an existence of graceful habits and serene moments, offered here to draw you into history's tranquil flow. The dawn routine begins softly. Her attendant parts the bed hangings, allowing cool air to brush her skin. The princess sits, her nightdress light, and dips her hands into a basin of water laced with violets. The splash is faint, refreshing. Her hair is tended, combed with an ivory tool, locks falling straight before being twisted into a coil. The gown chosen is lavender, fabric smooth as water, secured with ribbons. The process is unhurried, a meditation in motion. Prayers set the tone. She approaches her devotional corner, lighting a beeswax candle that flickers warmly. Her prayer book unfolds, pages rich with script and borders of ivy. She intones quietly, words of gratitude and guidance flowing like breath. A nun from the nearby abbey might attend. Her response is harmonious, the shared devotion a bond of spirit. The room holds stillness, the flame steady. Breakfast is in the lady's bower, a room of cushions and light. Porridge of barley simmers, flavoured with cinnamon from distant trades. Eggs poached soft, bread with jam of summer fruits. She shares with companions, their voices low, perhaps recounting a night's vision. The utensils clink gently, the meal a foundation for the hours ahead. Lessons turn to geography. Maps on vellum unroll, her tutor pointing to rivers and realms. She traces borders with her finger, learning names of allies and foes. Questions are asked softly, answers given with thought. She sketches a simple chart, her lines careful, expanding her view of the world beyond walls. Archery practice follows, in a cleared yard. She holds a light bow, arrows fletched with goose feathers. The instructor guides her stance, pull smooth, release clean. The thunk of arrow in target is satisfying, a skill for hunt or defense. Wind plays with her skirts, but her focus holds. The exercise invigorating yet controlled. Mid-morning sewing is in a sunlit alcove. Her work is a sampler of stitches, patterns of knots and chains and colourful yarns. The needle glides, fabric yielding, each loop a step in mastery. Ladies exchange patterns, their talk of fashions from court. Voices blending like threads. Noontide leads to the fish ponds. She walks paths lined with willows, watching carp glide in clear water. A net dips occasionally, catching for the table. The falconer joins sometimes, birds on wrist, their eyes keen. She feeds them scraps, feeling talons gentle on glove. The water reflects sky, a mirror of calm. Lunch is al fresco on fine days, under an arbor. Salads of herbs and flowers, fish grilled fresh, loaves with seeds. She picnics with kin, blankets spread, laughter subdued. The breeze carries scents of bloom, the repast leisurely, bonds woven in shared bites. Afternoon is for letter writing. At her desk, inkpot open, she pens missives to distant relatives. Her script is elegant, words chosen for diplomacy. Seals are warmed, pressed with her signet. This connects her to the wider web of royalty, her thoughts travelling on parchment. Charity involves the scriptorium today. She donates inks and quills to monks, watching them copy texts. Her gift aids knowledge, her presence inspires. Discussions of scriptures are soft, enlightening her further. Twilight brings evening prayer in the great chapel. Stained glass colours the light, hymns rise in chorus. She kneels on velvet, heart open, the service are close to active hours. Supper gathers all, hall aglow with torches, fowl roasted with roots, pies of mince, wines mulled. She listens to bards recite epics, verses rolling like waves. Her applause is polite, the evening a tapestry of senses. Leisure is backgammon, pieces sliding on board. With a brother, strategies unfold, winds gracious. The dice roll softly, firelight dancing. Night preparations, gown removed, skin anointed with oils, hair unbound, brushed to gleam. A lullaby sung by attendant, melody ancient. Bed welcomes her, linens crisp, final orisons whispered, day surrendered. Sleep arrives soft as down. Contemplate historical princesses. Like Jadwiga of Poland, sainted queen who ruled young. She journeyed to unite lands, her piety deep, decisions wise. Her court was pious yet vibrant. Or Catherine of Aragon, steadfast in trials. She crossed oceans, learned new tongues, her dignity enduring. Books were her solace, faith her guide. These royals wielded influence subtly. They patronized arts, commissioned works, minds active. Adversities, intrigues at court, alliances fragile. They navigated with poise, secrets guarded. Voyages, ships tossing, lands new. Adaptability key, Grace maintained. Seasons, summer tournaments, winter feasts, each rhythm familiar. Worship, daily masses, relics touched. Allies, maids confidential, kin supportive. Garments, layers for seasons, adornments meaningful. Meals balanced, flavors explored. Holidays, candles at Advent, eggs at Pasch. Strife, envoys sent, peace sought. Life authentic, layered. Past murmurs it, peaceful. View her in slumber, form relaxed. Castle vigilant, ages deep. Touch the fabric's weave. Hear night's hush. Inhale herbal sachet, behold shadow play. Realm of repose, gentle end. Behold the medieval castle in the tender light of morn. Its walls aglow with the first rays. Shadows lengthening softly. The breeze sighs through open casements, carrying hints of wildflowers. Within these halls, the princess rouses from repose, her awakening as gentle as the dawn itself. Her life unfolds not in epic sagas or opulent displays, but in harmonious customs and peaceful interludes, recounted here to envelop you in the serene narrative of bygone eras. The morning commences with Grace. Her handmaiden arrives, footsteps muffled, to unveil the bed's enclosure. The princess emerges, her chemise airy, and cleanses with water perfumed by roses. Droplets fall quietly, invigorating. Her tresses are groomed, the brush gliding evenly, strands arranged in a graceful plait. The robe for today is azure, material flowing, clasped with silver. The attire assembles gradually, a symphony of silence. Devotions initiate the hours. She nears her sacred niche, igniting a taper that illuminates softly. Her tome of devotion spreads, folios adorned with vines and holy figures. She utters pleas mildly, invocations for serenity and insight drifting. A cleric from the cloister may partake, his intonations melding, the communion a tranquil union. The ambiance is hallowed, the glow unwavering. Breakfast resides in the solar, bathed in sunbeams. Gruel of oats warms, enriched with dried fruits and a dash of saffron. Cheeses mild, fruits dewy from the grove. She partakes with her confidant, dialogue subdued, maybe of avian songs or tapestry motifs. The morsels are savoured, the repast a cornerstone of poise. Instruction pivots to heraldry. Blazons on shields unfold, her mentor elucidating emblems and lineages. She delineates crests, hues symbolic, grasping kinships of nobility. Inquiries posed gently, retorts pondered. She inscribes notations, her hand steady, broadening her comprehension of heritage. Riding lessons ensue in the Bailey's expanse. She mounts a palfrey mild, reins held firm, gait even. The Acre directs posture, turns smooth. Hooves patter softly on earth, wind whispering past. This pursuit fosters assurance. The vista open, her composure intact. Forenoon crafting in a chamber luminous, her labour a border of florals, filaments of yellow and blue entwining. The point penetrates cloth, each tie meticulous, forming beauty incrementally. Attendants swap yarns of lore or harvests, tones merging akin to hues. Meridian guides to the apiary. Bees hum busily among hives, honey golden. She observes collection, combs handled delicately. The keeper narrates cycles, tastes offered sweet. Blossoms nearby sway, pollen dusting air. This is kinship with nature, soothing. Noon meal outdoors when mild beneath pavilion. Broths clear with fowl, breads herbed, cheeses ripened. She banquets with relatives, cloths laid, mirth tempered. Zephyrs bear aromas of verdure, the feast unhurried. Ties fortified in communal tastes. Post-meridian is correspondence review. At her escritoire, missives arrive, seals broken cautiously. She peruses tidings from afar, replies drafted with prudence. Wax melts, imprint set. This links her to realms beyond. Her expressions voyaging on paper. Benevolence to the orphanage today. She bears garments and victuals to young ones, their eyes brightening. Her attendance uplifts. Narratives shared tenderly as she heeds their tales. A tutor's aid imparts wisdom, and she absorbs, her role nurturing. Crepuscule summons nocturnal horizon in the sanctuary grand. Vitreous panes tint the radiance, anthems ascend in accord. She prostrates on cushion, essence receptive, the rite sealing the vigils. Evening banquet assembles, saloon illuminated by flambeaux. Meats grilled with spices, tarts fruited, libations warmed. She attends to troubadours chanting lays of valor, stanzas undulating like tides. Her acclaim courteous, the night a weave of perceptions. Recreation is meals, markers shifting on grid. With sibling tactics emerge, triumphs modest. The pieces click mildly, hearth's radiance capering. Evening rites, vestment shed, epidermis salved with essences. Locks freed, combed to luster. A ballad crooned by aid, tune archaic. Couch receives her, sheets pristine. Ultimate supplications murmured, hours yielded. Slumber descends plush as plumage. Meditate on veritable princesses like Isabella of Castile, unifier of realms. She traversed to forge unions, her zeal profound, choices astute. Her palace was scholarly, tomes her allies, or Margaret of Anjou, resilient in adversity. She sailed expanses, acquired dialects, her fortitude lasting. Volumes her refuge, creed her compass. These sovereigns exercised sway discreetly. They sponsored crafts, ordered creations, intellects vibrant. Hardships, cabals in halls, pacts brittle. They steered with elegance, mysteries shielded. Expeditions, vessels heaving, territories novel. Versatility essential, poise preserved. Periods, vernal spectacles, hibernal banquets, each cadence known. Adoration, routine liturgies, artifacts revered. Associates, damsels trusted, lineage upholding. Vestures, strata for climes, ornaments significant. Repasts, equilibrated, tastes delved. Festivities, luminaries at Yuletide, over at Resurrection. Discord, delegates dispatched. Accord pursued. Existence genuine, stratified. Antiquity breathes it, pacific. Gaze upon her dormancy, silhouette eased. Stronghold watchful, epochs profound. Caress the textile's texture, perceive Eve's quietude. Breathe botanical pouch, observe umbra frolic. Domain of respite, tender conclusion. Envision the medieval castle under a dawn sky, its turret softened by a veil of mist. The air is still, scented with damp moss and faint wood smoke. Within, the princess stirs from her slumber, her breath even, her world awakening in delicate patterns. This is her life, not woven with tales of dragons or splendor, but with quiet tasks and gentle moments, shared here to cradle you in the soothing whispers of history. The morning begins with care. Her handmaiden glides in, parting the bed's heavy curtains to let in pale light. The princess rises, her linen shift brushing softly against her skin. She washes with water from a silver basin, touched with lavender for calm. Her hair is brushed, each stroke smooth and rhythmic, then gathered into a soft braid adorned with a ribbon. Today's gown is cream, its folds light, fastened with tiny clasps. The ritual is slow, a dance of stillness in the quiet chamber. Prayers anchor her start. She kneels at her small shrine, a candle casting a warm glow. Her prayer book opens to pages edged with blue and gold, words of hope and humility flowing softly from her lips. A monk may join, his chants low and steady, weaving peace into the air. The room feels sacred, the light filtering through narrow windows like a blessing. Breakfast awaits in a small hall, warmed by a crackling hearth. A wooden bowl holds warm porridge laced with honey, alongside slices of quince and soft cheese. She dines with her cousin today, their voices soft, sharing tales of a recent hunt. The bread is crusty, torn gently, the meal a moment of connection. Servants move like shadows, ensuring her cup of spice milk stays full. Lessons begin with astronomy. Her tutor unrolls a star chart, pointing to constellations with a wooden rod. She learns their names, Orion, Cassiopeia, her voice repeating them softly, like a song. On parchment, she sketches their shapes, her quill steady. This knowledge ties her to the heavens, her mind drifting to the vast night sky. Needlework follows in a room bright with morning sun. Her frame holds a cloth with a half-formed unicorn, threads of silver and green sparkling. She stitches slowly, each loop precise, her hands steady. Her ladies work beside her, their chatter faint, news of a market or a night's jest. The rhythm of sewing soothes like waves lapping ashore. Mid-morning brings a visit to the stables. She walks to the stalls, straw crunching underfoot to see her mare. The groom shows her how to brush the horse's coat, her hand moving in long, calm strokes. The animal's warmth is comforting, its breath a soft huff. She feeds it an apple, its crunch a small joy in the quiet yard. Noon calls for a walk by the riverbank. The water flows gently, reflecting the sky. She treads a path lined with reeds, her cloak catching the breeze. Her ladies trail behind, picking wild mint to crush between fingers, its scent sharp and fresh. A heron lifts from the water, wings slow, and she watches, her heart light in the open air. Lunch is served in the garden pavilion, shaded by vines. There are coal pies of pigeon, fresh greens and bread with poppy seeds. She eats with her mother, their talk of a coming festival soft and warm. The flavors are simple, the herbs bright, the meal grounding. Her goblet holds watered ale, cool against her lips. Afternoon duties involve the kitchen accounts. She sits with the steward, reviewing lists of spices and grains. Her fingers trace numbers on a slate, her questions careful. This task teaches stewardship, her voice calm as she suggests economies. The work is steady, linking her to the castle's heartbeat. Charity takes her to the village church. She brings candles and cloth for the altar, handing them to the priest with a gentle smile. The villagers kneel, their thanks murmured. She listens to their needs, a roof to mend, a child unwell, her presence a quiet promise of care. The stone walls echo softly, the air heavy with wax and prayer. Evening brings compline in the castle chapel. Torches cast a golden hue, hymns rising like breath. She kneels, her heart open, the service a balm for the day's end. The priest's voice is a steady drone, guiding her thoughts to peace. Supper fills the hall with warmth. Roasted lamb with rosemary, puddings of fruit and cream, wines warmed with cloves. She sits near her father, listening to tales of distant courts. A lutist plays, strings plucked softly, notes drifting like petals. She smiles, her hands folded, the night a gentle weave of sound and taste. Leisure is a game of cards painted with vivid figures. With her sisters she plays quietly, strategies shared in whispers, laughter soft. The fire crackles, its glow a comfort on their faces. Night closes in. Her chamber is dim, the fire low. Her gown is slipped off, folded with care. Her hair is brushed, the strokes a lullaby. A tale of a kind queen is read, the voice of her lady soft, fading into the quiet. In bed, curtains drawn, she whispers final prayers, giving thanks for the day's small joys. The castle hushes, only a distant owl calling. Sleep comes gentle as moonlight, carrying her to dreams. Reflect on real princesses like Elizabeth of York, who bridged warring houses. Her marriage sealed peace, her journey from child to queen marked by quiet strength. She patronized scholars, her court a haven of learning. Or Joanna of Castile, whose life was duty amid trials. She traveled widely, her resolve firm, her letters shaping alliances. Her faith was deep, her heart enduring despite sorrow. These women wielded power softly. They studied histories, spoke with envoys, their minds keen. Their embroidery could carry hidden messages. Art a silent voice. Challenges loomed, fevers without cure, betrayals in shadows. They faced them with grace, their spirits unbowed. Travel tested them, roads rough, seas wild. Yet they pressed on, cloaks tight, eyes forward. Seasons shaped their days, spring's promise, winter's introspection. Each held its rhythm. Faith was their root, chapels their solace. They gifted relics, their devotion etched in stone. Companions were kin in spirit, sharing joys and burdens. Family was strength, ties unbroken. Clothes were both duty and delight. Silks for grandeur, wolves for warmth. Meals were rituals, feasts for unity, fasts for reflection. Festivals brought light. Midsummer fires, Lenten prayers. Wars called for wisdom, castles held, messages sent. This life was rich, layered. History holds it gently, a story to calm. Picture her asleep, breath soft. The castle stands guard, its stones whispering of ages. Feel the bed's embrace, the blanket's weight. Hear the night's silence, broken by faint winds. Smell the cedar in her chest, grounding. See the starlight, faint through glass. This world is peace, a tender close. Imagine the medieval castle at the break of dawn, its stones kissed by the first soft light, mist curling around its base like a dream. The air is cool, scented with pine and the faint smoke of distant fires. Inside, the princess stirs gently, her sleep undisturbed, her day unfolding in quiet elegance. This is her world, not one of glittering crowns or heroic tales, but of simple duties and tranquil moments, shared now to guide you into history's gentle embrace. Morning begins with tenderness. Her lady-in-waiting enters, her steps hushed, drawing back the velvet curtains of the bed. The princess rises, her linen shift soft against her skin, and washes in a basin of water warmed with herbs, rosemary, perhaps its scent waking her senses. Her hair is brushed, each stroke steady and slow, then woven into a loose knot with a pearl pin. Today's gown is russet, warm and flowing, tied with silken cords. The act is unhurried, a ritual of calm in the dim chamber. Prayers follow, grounding her spirit. She kneels by her small oratory, a single candle glowing softly. Her book of hours opens, its pages rich with painted saints and curling vines. She whispers devotions, words of peace and strength, her voice blending with the stillness. A visiting sister from the convent may join, her prayers a soft echo, their voices weaving a quiet harmony. The air feels sacred, the light a gentle caress. Breakfast is served in a nook by the fire, where warmth fights the morning chill. A wooden trencher holds warm bread with butter, apples baked with cloves, and a small cup of cream. She eats with her younger brother, his chatter about a new falcon light and cheerful. The food is simple, nourishing, the meal a pause of comfort. Servants glide in and out, their presence barely felt, leaving her to savor the moment. Lessons begin with philosophy. Her tutor, a wise cleric, speaks of virtues, patience, justice, reading from a heavy tome. She listens, her mind tracing the ideas, and scribes notes on a wax tablet, her stylus scratching softly. The words are weighty but soothing, shaping her thoughts like a river-shaped stone. She repeats phrases, her voice low, absorbing lessons meant for a future role. Music practice comes next, in a room with a high ceiling. She takes up a viol, its strings taut under her fingers. The bow moves slowly, drawing out notes that hum like a breeze. She learns a courtly air, its melody soft and flowing. Her tutor hums along, correcting gently, and the sound fills the space, a lullaby for the soul. Her ladies join, their voices a faint chorus. Late morning is for weaving. A small loom sits by a window, threads of wool stretched tight. She works a pattern of stars, her hands guiding the shuttle with care. Each pass is deliberate, the cloth growing slowly. Her companions weave nearby, their talk of a recent tourney soft and distant. The rhythm of the loom is calming, a steady pulse in the bright room. Midday draws her to the herb garden. Paths of gravel lead through beds of sage and thyme, their scents rising as she brushes past. She kneels to pick leaves, her fingers green with their essence, learning their uses from a gardener's quiet words. A bee hums nearby, the sun warm on her back. This is a moment of connection to the earth, grounding and serene. Lunch is in the great hall today, the table draped in linen. There's a stew of lentils and herbs, bread with a crust like armor, and pears poached in wine. She dines with her parents, their talk of a new chapel soft and thoughtful. The flavors are rich yet simple, the meal a bridge to family. Her goblet holds spring water, cool and clear, a sip of purity. Afternoon tasks involve the chapel's upkeep. She oversees the cleaning of silver candlesticks, her hands polishing gently, their gleam a reflection of care. With the sacristan, she checks vestments, her touchlight on embroidered cloth. This duty is humble, tying her to faith's quiet work, her voice soft as she gives instructions. Charity leads her to the poor at the castle gate. She hands out blankets, their wool rough but warm, her smile a gift of its own. The villagers bow, their gratitude murmured, their faces etched with life's weight. She listens to a woman's plea for grain, promising aid, her heart steady. The air smells of earth and wool, rooting her in service. Evening brings vespers in the chapel, where candles cast a golden haze. She kneels on a cushion, her voice joining the choir's chant. The Latin words flowing like water. The service is a closing, a moment to release the day's cares. The air heavy with incense and calm. Supper fills the hall with warmth. There's roasted fowl with sage, tarts of custard and fruit and mulled cider, its spices warming her throat. She sits by her mother, hearing tales of a distant aunt's travels. A minstrel strums a harp, its notes soft as rainfall, weaving through the laughter. Leisure is a puzzle of painted tiles played with her ladies. They arrange pieces into patterns, their moves slow, their giggles faint. The fire's glow dances on the tiles, the game a quiet joy. Night settles over the castle. In her chamber, her gown is slipped off, folded neatly. Her hair is brushed, the strokes a soothing cadence. A story is read. A saint's journey across seas, its words fading into the dim. The fire's embers pulse, casting a faint warmth. In bed, the curtains close her in, a cocoon of linen and wool. She prays, her whispers giving thanks for the day's grace. The castle falls silent, save for the wind's soft sigh. Sleep arrives, gentle as a tide, pulling her under. Think of real princesses, like Eleanor of Provence, who shaped a kingdom with quiet wisdom. She crossed lands to wed, her courage soft but sure, her court alive with poetry and faith. Or Isabella of Aragon, who faced turmoil with grace. Her travels were long, her letters binding allies, her spirit enduring through loss. She read widely, her mind a beacon. These women held power gently. They studied laws, spoke with merchants, their voices calm but firm. Their embroidery could hide ciphers, their music a code of heart. Hardships were many, illness without remedy, plots in shadowed halls. They stood firm, their faith a steady flame. Travel was wearying, roads of mud, ships unsteady. Yet they journeyed, their resolve a quiet strength. Seasons wove their days, summer's hunts, winter's tales by firelight. Faith was their core, churches their haven. They gifted altars, their devotion carved in stone. Friends were their solace, sharing laughter and secrets. Family was their root, bonds deep. Clothes were both art and armor, silks for courts, furs for cold. Meals were moments of unity, feasts grand, suppers simple. Festivals sparked joy. Christmas with song, May with dances. Wars tested their hearts. Castles guarded, hopes held high. This life was full, real. History speaks it softly, a lullaby of truth. See her asleep, her breath a whisper. The castle watches, its stones holding centuries. Feel the bed's softness, the blanket's warmth. Hear the night's hush, a distant dog's bark. Smell the lavender sachet, faint and sweet. See the moonlight, silver on the floor. This world is rest, a gentle end. Picture the medieval castle as dawn creeps in. Its walls softened by a gentle glow. The air heavy with the scent of dew and distant hay. A faint breeze hums through the battlements, stirring the quiet. Inside, the princess wakes slowly, her dreams slipping away like mist, her day ready to unfold in tender patterns. This is her life, not spun from tales of enchantment or pomp, but crafted from calm duties and serene moments, shared here to lull you into history's peaceful embrace. The morning opens with care, her handmaiden glides in, parting the bed's embroidered curtains to reveal the pale light. The princess rises, her shift light as a whisper, and washes in a basin of water warmed with mint leaves, their scent sharp and soothing. Her hair is brushed, each stroke a steady rhythm, then tied with a silk band into a soft coil. Today's gown is saffron, its fabric smooth, secured with delicate pins. The act is slow, a moment of quiet grace in the still chamber. Prayers set the day's foundation. She kneels at her small altar, a single candle casting a golden flicker. Her book of hours lies open, its pages glowing with painted stars and saints. She murmurs words of hope and kindness, her voice blending with the hush. A visiting abbess may join, her prayers a soft chant, their voices entwining like vines. The air feels holy, the light a gentle guide. Breakfast waits in a cozy corner of the hall where a fire crackles low. A wooden platter holds warm scones with jam, slices of pear and a small bowl of cream. She dines with her elder sister, their talk soft, perhaps of a new book or a hawk's flight. The food is simple, grounding, the meal a shared warmth. Servants move silently, refilling her cup of herbal tea, its steam curling like a dream. Lessons begin with literature. Her tutor, a scholar with a gentle voice, reads from a romance, tales of knights and distant lands. She follows along, her finger tracing the words on parchment, her voice repeating lines softly. On a slate she writes phrases, her letters careful. The stories stir her heart, teaching her the art of words, her mind drifting in their flow. Dance practice follows, in a room with wide windows. A minstrel plays a recorder, its notes light and lilting. She learns a new step, her feet gliding over polished wood, her gown swaying like a breeze. The movements are slow, graceful, a balance of body and soul. Her ladies join, their steps a quiet echo, their laughter faint but warm. Mid-morning is for embroidery. Her frame holds a cloth with a half-formed rose, threads of pink and green weaving beauty. She stitches with care, the needle's rhythm soothing, like a heartbeat. Her companions sew nearby, sharing whispers of a coming feast or a knight's tale. The sunlight spills through glass, warming their hands, the room a haven of calm. Noon calls her to the dovecote. Pigeons coo softly in their wooden nests, feathers rustling. She learns to tend them, scattering grain, her hands gentle. The keeper speaks of their messages, carried across kingdoms. She watches a bird take flight, its wings a soft blur. The moment a blend of care and freedom. Lunch is served in the solar, sunlight streaming through. A table holds cold trout with herbs, bread with a nutty crust, and apples baked soft. She eats with her mother, their talk of a pilgrimage gentle and thoughtful. The flavors are bright, the meal a pause of connection. Her goblet holds clear water, cool and pure, grounding her in the moment. Afternoon duties involve the treasury. With the chamberlain, she reviews jewels and plate, her fingers touching silver and pearl. She notes their care on a ledger, her script neat, her questions soft but sharp. This work teaches value, not just of gold, but of trust, her voice steady as she learns. Charity draws her to the almshouse. She brings baskets of bread and woolen socks, handing them to the elderly with a kind smile. Their thanks are quiet, their hands worn. She listens to their stories, a lost son, a hard winter, her heart open. The air smells of fresh loaves and clean wool, tying her to their lives. Evening brings Compline in the chapel, where candles glow like stars. She kneels, her voice joining the soft chant of psalms. The Latin familiar and comforting. The services are closing, a release of the day's weight. The air thick with devotion and peace. Supper fills the hall with warmth. There's venison stew with roots, tarts of berry and almond, and wine warmed with spices. She sits by her father, hearing of a treaty signed. A flutist plays, notes floating like leaves. The night a blend of taste and sound. She claps softly, her smile serene. Leisure is a game of chess, carved pieces moving on a checkered board. With her brother, she plans moves, their laughter low, their rivalry gentle. The fire's glow dances on the board. The game a quiet challenge. Night falls and her chamber welcomes her. Her gown is removed, folded with care. Her hair is brushed, the strokes a lullaby. A story of a holy maiden is read, its words soft, fading into the dim. The fire's embers pulse, casting a faint warmth. In bed, curtains drawn, she whispers prayers, giving thanks for the day's light. The castle is still, save for a distant creak of wood. Sleep comes, soft as a feather. carrying her to dreams of fields and skies. Reflect on real princesses like Margaret of Scotland, who wove peace through marriage. Her journeys were long, her heart steady, her court a place of song and faith. Or Anne of Denmark, who crossed seas to rule, her wisdom quiet but deep. She patronized poets, her letters shaping bonds, her spirit enduring trials. These women held influence with grace. They read treaties, spoke with clerics, their minds sharp. Their music carried messages, their stitches held secrets. Hardships were real, plagues in villages, treachery in courts. They faced them with calm, their faith a steady anchor. Travel was toil, roads rutted, seas rough. Yet they moved forward, their grace a shield. Seasons shaped their rhythm, spring's blossoms, winter's fires. Each brought its own tasks. Faith was their center, chapels their refuge. They gifted books, their devotion lasting. Friends were their comfort, sharing quiet joys. Family was their strength, ties deep. Clothes were their voice, velvets for power, linens for ease. Meals were their bond, feasts for guests, suppers for kin. Festivals were their spark, Easter with flowers, Yule with light. Wars were their trial, castles held, prayers sent. This life was vibrant, true. History murmurs it, a soothing tale. See her asleep, her breath a whisper. The castle guards her, its stones steeped in time. Feel the bed's softness, the blanket's embrace. Hear the night's hush, a faint owl's call. Smell the rosemary in her pillow, grounding. See the starlight faint through the glass. This world is peace, a gentle close. Imagine the medieval castle as the first light of dawn touches its walls, casting a soft glow over weathered stone. The air is still, fragrant with wet grass and the faint tang of wood smoke. Inside, the princess stirs gently from her sleep, her breath calm, her world awakening in quiet rhythms. This is her life, not a tale of grand feasts or shining armor, but a weave of simple duties and serene moments, shared here to draw you into the tranquil heart of history. Morning begins with care. Her handmaiden enters softly, pulling back the bed's heavy curtains to let in the pale light. The princess rises, her shift light and cool, and washes in a basin of water scented with chamomile, its gentle aroma soothing her awake. Her hair is brushed, each stroke slow and even, then gathered into a soft braid with a silver thread. Today's gown is deep green, its fabric warm, fastened with small bone buttons. The ritual is unhurried, a moment of peace in the dim chamber. Prayers set the day's tone. She kneels at her small shrine, lighting a candle that flickers warmly. Her book of hours opens, its pages rich with colored inks and delicate script. She whispers words of grace and protection, her voice a soft murmur. A visiting priest may join, his prayers low and rhythmic, blending with hers in quiet harmony. The air feels sacred, the candles glow a steady guide. Breakfast is served in a small alcove, warmed by a low fire. A wooden tray holds fresh bread with honey, soft-boiled eggs and a handful of berries. She dines with her younger sister, their talk light, perhaps of a new kitten in the stables. The food is simple, comforting, the meal a shared warmth. Servants move quietly, refilling her cup of spiced milk, its steam curling in the cool air. Lessons begin with history. Her tutor, an elderly scholar, speaks of ancient kings, unrolling a parchment with faded names. She listens, her mind tracing their deeds, and writes notes on a slate, her stylus scratching softly. The stories teach duty and wisdom, her voice repeating dates in a gentle cadence. This learning shapes her, like clay under careful hands. Harp practice follows, in a room with tall windows. She sits with the instrument, its wood smooth under her fingers. The strings hum softly as she plays a slow ballad, its notes drifting like leaves. Her tutor guides her, his voice kind, and the music becomes a prayer, filling the space with calm. Her ladies hum along, their voices a faint echo. Mid-morning is for needlework. Her embroidery frame holds a cloth with a half-formed vine, threads of gold and purple weaving through. She stitches slowly, each loop deliberate, her hands steady. Her companions sew nearby, their whispers of a village fair soft and distant. The sunlight a ripe fruit, its skin cool in her hand. The gardener speaks of pruning, his voice low, and she listens, learning the care of growing things. A bird sings overhead, its notes bright, the moment a breath of freedom. Lunch is in the Queen's chamber, the table small but elegant. There's a soup of herbs and barley, bread with a nutty crust, and roasted quails. She eats with her mother, their talk of a cousin's betrothal gentle and warm. The flavours are subtle, grounding, the meal a quiet bond. Her goblet holds watered wine, its taste faint but sweet. Afternoon duties involve the library. She checks manuscripts with the scribe, her fingers brushing vellum pages, their ink still vivid. She notes books to repair, her script neat, her questions thoughtful. This work ties her to knowledge, her voice soft as she speaks of new texts. Charity takes her to the village well. She brings buckets and cloth for the women, easing their labour. Their thanks are quiet, their smiles warm. She listens to their needs, a sick child, a broken tool, promising help, her heart open. The air smells of water and earth, rooting her in service. Evening brings vespers in the chapel, where candles cast a soft glow. She kneels, her voice joining the choir's chant, the words flowing like a stream. The service is a closing, a moment to release the day, the air heavy with incense and peace. Supper fills the hall with warmth. There's roasted boar with apples, custard sweet with honey, and cider warmed with spices. She sits by her father, hearing of a new alliance. A lutist plays, notes soft as moonlight, weaving through the talk. She claps gently, her smile serene. Leisure is a game of riddles shared with her ladies. They pose questions, their laughter soft, their minds sharp. The fire's glow dances on their faces. The game a quiet delight. Night settles in her chamber. Her gown is slipped off, folded neatly. Her hair is brushed, the strokes a lullaby. A tale of a wise queen is read, its words fading into the dim. The fire's embers glow, casting a faint warmth. In bed, curtains drawn, she whispers prayers, giving thanks for the day's small graces. The castle is still, save for a distant creak. Sleep comes gentle as a sigh, pulling her into dreams of rivers and stars. Reflect on real princesses, like Philippa of Hainaut, who brought peace to a court. Her journey from home was long, her wisdom quiet but deep, her court alive with music and faith. Or Catherine of Aragon, whose strength shone in trials. She crossed seas, learned new ways, her dignity a beacon. Books were her comfort, her prayers her guide. These women held power softly. They studied laws, spoke with envoys, their minds keen. Their stitches could hide secrets, their songs carry hope. Hardships were many, illness with no cure, plots in dark corners. They faced them with grace, their faith a steady light. Travel was toil, roads muddy, ships unsteady. Yet they pressed on, their resolve firm. Seasons shaped their days. Spring's blooms, winter's tales. Each had its rhythm. Faith was their anchor, chapels their haven. They gifted relics, their devotion lasting. Friends were their solace, sharing quiet joys. Family was their root, bonds deep. Clothes were their voice, silks for grandeur, wools for warmth. Meals were their bond, feasts for unity, suppers for kin. Festivals sparked joy, Christmas with light, Easter with flowers. Wars tested their hearts, castles held, hopes sent. This life was rich, true. History whispers it, a soothing tale. See her asleep, her breath soft. The castle guards her, its stones steeped in time. Feel the bed's embrace, the blanket's weight. Hear the night's hush, a faint wind's call. Smell the chamomile sachet grounding. See the starlight, silver on the floor. This world is peace, a gentle close. See the medieval castle at dawn, its towers bathed in a soft, rosy light, mist curling gently at their base. The air is cool, carrying the scent of damp earth and blooming clover. Inside, the princess awakens slowly, her breath steady, her world unfolding in quiet harmony. This is her life, Not a story of grand quests or dazzling jewels, but a blend of gentle tasks and peaceful moments, shared here to guide you into the soothing depths of history. Morning begins with care. Her handmaiden enters, her steps soft, parting the bed's velvet curtains to reveal the pale glow. The princess rises, her linen shift light, and washes in a basin of water touched with rose petals, their scent calming her senses. Her hair is brushed, each stroke smooth and deliberate, then tied into a soft braid with a ribbon of silk. Today's gown is soft blue, its fabric flowing, secured with tiny silver clasps. The ritual is slow, a quiet start to the day. Prayers anchor her morning. She kneels at her small altar, a candle's flame dancing gently. Her book of hours opens, its pages glowing with painted flowers and holy words. She murmurs prayers for peace and wisdom, her voice a whisper in the stillness. A visiting nun may join, her chants soft, blending with the princesses in a serene duet. The air feels sacred, the light a tender embrace. Breakfast waits in a small chamber, warmed by a crackling fire. A wooden trencher holds warm bread with butter, slices of apple and a small bowl of cream. She dines with her cousin, their talk light, perhaps of a new tapestry or a bird's song. The food is simple, grounding, the meal a moment of warmth. Servants move quietly, refilling her cup of herbal tea, its steam a soft veil. Lessons begin with poetry. Her tutor, a kind scholar, reads verses of love and nature, the parchment old but cherished. She follows, her voice repeating lines softly, her finger tracing the words. On a wax tablet she writes her own lines, her stylus steady. The poetry stirs her heart, teaching her grace, her mind drifting in its rhythm. Music practice follows, in a room with high windows. She takes up a lute, its strings humming under her touch. She learns a gentle air, its notes flowing like a stream. Her tutor guides her, his voice calm, and the music wraps the room in peace. Her ladies sing softly, their voices a faint harmony, the sound a balm. Mid-morning is for embroidery. Her frame holds a cloth with a half-formed stag, threads of brown and gold weaving through. She stitches carefully, each loop precise, her hands steady. Her companions work nearby, their whispers of a coming tourney soft and distant. The sunlight spills through glass, warming their hands, the sewing a soothing rhythm. Noon calls her to the castle's vineyard. Grapes hang heavy, their skins dusted with dew. She walks the rows, learning from the vintner about the harvest, her fingers brushing the leaves. The air is sweet, the sun warm, the moment a connection to the land. A bird flits above, its songlight, her heart at ease. Lunch is in the garden, under a canopy of woven branches. There's a pie of herbs and cheese, bread with a crisp crust, and plums fresh from the tree. She eats with her mother, their talk of a festival gentle and warm. The flavors are bright, the meal a quiet bond. Her goblet holds watered wine, cool and faint, grounding her in the moment. Afternoon duties involve the castle's linens. She checks sheets and tapestries with the laundress, her hands touching soft wool and linen. She notes repairs needed, her script neat on a slate, her voice calm as she asks questions. This work teaches care, her thoughts steady as she plans. Charity takes her to the village school. She brings parchment and quills for the children, their faces bright with thanks. She listens to their lessons, her smile kind, her presence encouraging. A teacher speaks of their progress and she nods, her heart open. The air smells of ink and wood, tying her to their hopes. Evening brings vespers in the chapel, where candles cast a golden glow. She kneels, her voice joining the soft chant of psalms. The words a familiar comfort. The services are closing, a release of the day's cares. The air heavy with incense and calm. Supper fills the hall with warmth. There's roasted duck with herbs, tarts of berry and cream, and cider warmed with spices. She sits by her father, hearing of a distant court's news. A harper plays, notes soft as moonlight, weaving through the talk. She claps gently, her smile serene. Leisure is a game of backgammon, dice rolling softly on a wooden board. With her sisters she plays quietly, their laughter low, their moves thoughtful. The fire's glow dances on the pieces. the game a gentle challenge. Night settles in her chamber. Her gown is slipped off, folded with care. Her hair is brushed, the strokes a lullaby. A tale of a brave queen is read, its words fading into the dim. The fire's embers pulse, casting a faint warmth. In bed, curtains drawn, she whispers prayers, giving thanks for the day's light. The castle is still, save for a distant wind's sigh. Sleep comes gentle as a tide, pulling her into dreams of meadows and skies. Reflect on real princesses like Eleanor of Castile, who shaped a kingdom with quiet strength. Her travels were long, her wisdom deep, her court a place of learning and faith. Or Isabella of France, who faced trials with grace. She crossed seas, forged alliances, her spirit enduring. Books were her solace, her prayers her guide. These women held power softly. They studied laws, spoke with scholars, their minds sharp. Their stitches could hide secrets, their songs carry hope. Hardships were many, illness without cure, plots in dark halls. They faced them with calm, their faith a steady flame. Travel was toil, roads rough, ships unsteady. Yet they pressed on, their resolve firm. Seasons shaped their days. Spring's flowers, winter's fires. Each had its rhythm. Faith was their core, chapels their haven. They gifted relics, their devotion lasting. Friends were their comfort, sharing quiet joys. Family was their root, bonds deep. Clothes were their voice. Silks for grandeur, wools for warmth. Meals were their bond, feasts for unity, suppers for kin. Festivals sparked joy. Christmas with light, Easter with flowers. Wars tested their hearts. Castles held, hopes sent.